I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema Classics on air.
Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando. It airs Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. Listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
I'm K G Kline.
and this is Cinema Classics. Now the good thing about Cinema Classics is movie time for the original NPR station in Central Ohio. The good thing about it is that the people who are behind the mics are smart, okay? So we feed each other.
We do feed each other. We also like to believe that the listeners out there are also smart. I think
And they are.
WCBE attracts a very, very intellectual crowd.
75% are college grads.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So Ken introduced me to a thriller called Old Boy, and quite a show. Not anything like you've ever seen in a thriller. So I brought back to him, and I'm not sure he saw the whole thing, The Crying Game, which is currently playing on Amazon, right? On Prime?
I believe it was Amazon.
Yeah. And so now we have two thrillers, but we're not getting into Old Boy. Good Lord, we don't have enough time for that.
No, if you have time, run to the Drexel. I think it's got one more day left.
Yeah, well, it's worthless for us because
We'll be gone by
right, we'll be gone by then. But anyway, The Crying Game, 1992. We have one Oscar for this for the best original screenplay by the writer-director Neil Jordan, someone whom I truly admire, and recently Marlowe, last year.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, and which I kind of liked.
Yeah.
It's nothing of the caliber, as far as I'm concerned, of The Crying Game. So as a thriller, K G Kline, what do you think?
Well, this is a good time to revisit The Crying Game, because The Crying Game is a film, in some ways it's almost two films. The first act is the story of an IRA volunteer who's fighting for the Irish.
Played by Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright, who helps with a group of people that kidnap a British soldier, played by Johnny Whittaker.
Played by, played by Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker.
right, yeah, a young Forrest Whitaker.
A very young Forrest Whitaker. And you see in this first act the relationship that slowly builds and develops between the character of Fergus and the character of Jody, Jody being the British soldier. And it's a very interesting little short film. Then the second act is this remarkable piece of filmmaking that involves a transgender woman by the name of Dill. And of course, transgender cinema has changed dramatically since 2020, much less going back to 1992 when this movie came out. So this is an excellent time to revisit it because of the changes that have taken place over the last 3 decades in the depictions of transgender and transgender cinema.
And let me see if I can't edit this so that we don't even use the word transgender or transvestite or whatever. And let's just say, I think I found the word.
Okay.
Because you and I were challenged by this. This is a big reveal. Odd. An odd relationship.
Okay.
An odd love affair. To me, this film has one of the best love affairs in all of cinema history. All right, I mean, it's there. It's behind Casablanca. It's behind Dr. Zhivago. It's behind my romantic and thrilling love affairs. But it is, to me, a really fine and poignant dissection of the relationship between two people who love each other.
And you can look at this film in 2 different ways. You can look at it as from the point of view that all the relationships in this movie are asexual, that there's no sexuality to these relationships. The relationship between Fergus and Jody, asexual. The relationship between Fergus and Dill, asexual. Or you can look at it from the point of view that there is a lot of sexuality in these relationships, but it is deeply, deeply repressed.
I like your analysis. I like thinking about it as asexual, even though you have like Jude, played by Miranda Anderson, who really comes on to Fergus, but it's more like a bitterness over the fact that she can't connect with him anymore.
She's a very villainous figure throughout this, and she uses her sexuality to get what she wants.
Right.
But there is never any attempt at a relationship with this woman.
Yes, yeah. And so, and yes, two different ways of looking at this film. One is a thriller. You don't have to be worried about our romantic themes here. Just go and enjoy a very seriously good thriller that won the Best Original Screenplay, meaning listen to the dialogue, because it's brilliant dialogue. And as we talked about it, I was pointing out that I think that there is no fat in this script at all.
No,
I
no,
think
this-
everything relates thematically.
It's a very, very tight script. It's beautifully filmed. It's beautifully acted. One actor, the actor playing Dill in particular.
Yes, and Jay Davidson, who was playing Dill, I think was nominated,
I believe.
Yeah, was
I
nominated.
believe,
The
yes,
only
was
Oscar
nominated
they
for
got
an
was-
Oscar, yeah.
which was for the best screenplay, and I'm a little bit disappointed in that because I just think it's brilliant. I'm one of my favorite reviewers named James Berardinelli, who used to review films a long time ago. He must be getting on, but he said this deserves to be called great.
And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, but with hesitations. There is, within this film, things that would be troubling to today,
Yeah.
particularly to the LGBTQ community. I really don't think we can escape addressing the issues that this film poses.
But yeah, if we try not to do that, just as back in 1992, we all kept mum about this. We wanted people to go see it, and they wanted them to be surprised at this movie. And I think we can continue to do that, though I agree with you. It's really difficult. And sometimes I think, look, over 30 years later.
Yeah, 30
don't you
years
think-
has passed.
Don't you think, right?
You know, we can now
Don't you
go on
think,
radio and
right?
say Darth
Yeah.
Vader is Luke's father.
I know it, right. Believe me, I thought about that as you challenged me and said, well, that's nice, you want to do that, John, but don't you think it's going to be difficult? And you were right.
Yeah.
It's difficult to avoid some big issues here. And one particularly big issue in this film, and it's one of the reasons I love the film. It's a shocking reveal. And anyway, yes, so we're talking about the IRA, and if you have no sense of the troubles in Ireland, watch this film. It'll give you an idea of how people are troubled by what was happening.
And how some people who were involved may not have been a part of the ideology, a part of the violence, but were simply a part of the belief of that there was a better Ireland, but they didn't support in every way the violence that was going on.
Yeah.
Fergus is a very complicated character.
I think, as I recollect, when I looked it up 30 years ago, it's some kind of a mythic figure as a Fergus, some kind of a priest type,
Okay.
carries messages and so on in that mythic way. So every choice is a really good one, even down to Miranda Richardson's Jude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jude is an interesting character too, but she is so cold and
What's
so
her name?
villainous. Oh, Jude is. Yes. We can't,
All right. I
can't
know.
get around the name there.
All right, and let me see. Well, we do have Jodie Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Jodie, and that works well for the film because that could be anybody.
Could be anybody. It's
He's a neutral name.
Yeah, and he is such a pleasant character in this film. He carries his part of the film very, very nicely.
Yeah. One of the really interesting minor characters to me is the bartender.
Yeah, the bartender in a lot of ways almost reminds me of Joel Grey in Cabaret. You know, he's this side character who has to try to keep everything together.
Oh, I agree.
Without showing any particular sides or favoritism.
I like to think of him as the ringmaster.
He is very much the ringmaster. But he's a ringmaster in a Joel Grey kind of way.
Yes. Oh, and he's fielding between Dill and Fergus.
Yes.
And I even parsed Dill's name.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you as a character's name?
Dill?
Yes.
Well, obviously it's short for something.
No? Yes? So I can't spark?
Well, all I know is that in the original script, Dill was written originally to be a female character named Dill.
Okay. And I thought that, figuratively speaking, Dill is an appropriate name for the role played by J. Davidson.
Okay.
As we might think of as a dill pickle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, so, yes, so anyway, Neil Jordan spares nothing in giving us clues as to what's going to happen in this film, or what the film is really about, even from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even at the end, you're still left with a lot of questions in this movie.
But
We've discussed this before, because one of the things I asked you is I said, did you see Fergus as a closeted gay male?
Yeah, and not at all.
You didn't. And I'll challenge you, though, with the scene in the film where Fergus is with Dill for the very first time. They're engaging in an act. And throughout that whole thing, Fergus is staring at a picture of Jody.
Right.
And it calls into question, is he in fact a closeted gay man, and is he fantasizing about Jody while he's with Dill?
Oh, wow. Hey, give me time to think about that one. I thought that Jordan cuts to the shots or to the photos of Jody there to remind us that Dill has had other relationships, certainly one there that had flowered in that very dead greenhouse, had grown between Fergus and Jody, right, and
how much more interesting is that relationship if Fergus is actually developing a attraction for Jody?
Yeah, we'll never agree on this one.
Yeah, we probably won't.
We probably will not. But I like the way you're going, but I see the pain, at least as Stephen Ray plays him, the pain he has in loving Dill. And I think that the part of the reason I love this film is that there are relationships that are based on love in a platonic way that are profound. And when in one place in the dialogue they mention, no greater love has this than giving up your life for a friend.
And that is part of the film. No, there's no question. However, I am going to challenge you again.
Yes, I knew you would.
However, we do see Fergus repeatedly rejecting Jude's advances, but then very quickly developing this very compassionate relationship with Jody. And I would have downplayed that, except for the fact that the director makes a point that Fergus is staring at a picture of Jody the entire time that he is engaging.
Yeah, that's because he has not yet revealed to Dill that he.
Well, and that's part of it. He doesn't know about Dill, but at the same time, with believing that Dill is a normal woman, he is still staring at a picture of Jody the whole time.
All right, and I'm going to think about this further because I hadn't before. I had really thought it was Jordan tying in the earlier part of the film where they developed a romance, no question. Yes, as far as I can say, non-sexual, but between Fergus and Jody, there is a very strong bond.
Yes.
That I see as male, but not sexual.
And at this time, though, in 1992, it would have been unthinkable for somebody in Fergus's position to ever come out.
Good for you. I go right from the beginning. The first frame, where you have, is it Percy Sledge singing "When a Man Loves a Woman"?
When a Man Loves a Woman.
I mean,
yes.
you have no idea how this ties.
No,
how this ties in. And then the final by who was the final song at the end is "Stand by Your Woman."
Yeah.
With I forgot the name of the singer. It's famous. Yeah. Anyway, stand by. Yes. Stand by your man.
Stand by Your Man.
Right,
yes,
right.
there we go. Was that Tommy Wynette?
No, but it's,
Or Loretta Lynn?
oh gosh, I'm gonna be so sad after we finish here. Boy George.
Boy George?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Which is even better. Come on, Ken, give me a
Okay.
little help here.
Well, you're helping me.
I know.
Throwing a little Boy George into the mix.
I thought Neil Jordan was a genius after I saw this
Yeah,
movie.
he definitely did. Well, he definitely did a lot of interesting work with the script. He tinkered with his script from what he was presented, and he wasn't satisfied with the simple story that he was given, and introduced a twist to it.
All right, K G Kline, the people are gonna have to go to Double Take, our podcast at WCBE, to listen to more of our blather, if you can believe it. I think we have more to say.
I think we do have more to say.
So what do you advise our audience?
I would advise our audience to go back and relook at this movie through 2023 eyes, but at the same time, I would also advise the audience that there are some very, very harmful stereotypes that are featured in this movie, and it may not, in today's eyes, come across as quite as well presented as it
It's
did
30
in
years later.
1992. Yeah.
And you give you an idea how revolutionary I think it was back in '92.
In 92, I'm sure it was, but today it's a bit painful.
I'm John DeSando.
Cinema, 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 cinema. Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn. Soda pop with